When we say rising routine or a morning ritual, there is a certain level of doing the same thing every single day. And while that sounds really great on paper, it really took away my ability to intuitively listen to my needs in the moment and to adjust for very real life and seasonal changes. Sometimes it's summer. My first thing I'm doing in the morning is watering a garden, moving the chickens, feeding the chickens, taking my dog on a walk. I don't necessarily have 2 hours for a dedicated yoga practice, a perfectly brewed matcha tea, etc., etc. Even though I do love those mornings as well, I needed more freedom and room to adjust and pivot. So I have never been able to successfully commit to a morning routine that is this task, this task, this task, this task, and that specific. I came up with a strategy to allow myself both a regimen and a routine, as well as the freedom to choose, change, and flow. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Melanie and I am super jazzed to be here as always. I am also super jazzed to get into the final week of Self-Love September. It has been a great journey and I am loving these practices and sharing them with you. Today's video is about creating some sort of structure, routine, and or schedule. Now, I know it might seem peculiar to consider this an act of self-love, but I truly deeply do, and I'm actually really passionate about it. I'm so excited to share with you some of my thoughts and my journeys around creating a routine or a structure, something to hold us accountable to. It has been a big part of my journey. If you have been on the channel for a while, you would remember my Pagan Plan with Me series. Throughout that entire series, you see me work with calendars, to-do lists, structures, task management, all in relation to the seasons, the pagan Sabbats, connecting into the moon cycles, and trying to allot for a certain feminine flow within that masculine structured framework. This has been a journey, and it is continuously something I have to come back to, reevaluate, and pivot with. I consider a routine or a schedule or a calendar or a to-do list a great way to ensure that I'm not spending my time mindlessly doing a task that doesn't serve me in the long run. I hesitate to use terminology like productive because we have a tendency, at least I know I do, have a tendency to associate my worth with productivity or the value of a task with productivity. And that's not what this is about. It's more about being aware enough of how we spend our time to be able to choose to spend our time how we want to. I'm talking about mindlessly scrolling on social media or anything you might personally consider as wasting your time. That to me is not very healthy for me to mindlessly scroll on social media or watch reels or TikToks for hours at a time. It just becomes kind of a dopamine loop where I get stuck and I zone out and I'm not engaged in my own life, which is concerning for me, and it's something that I would like to nip in the bud. So that's one way I utilize a routine or a schedule or a to-do list. It's to steer me away from habits and activities that I'm mindlessly participating in and that kind of encourage a passive way of existing. Routine also allows me to intentionally engage with practices that feed my soul and keep me invigorated, energized, and engaged in my own life. Those are the practices and the pastime activities and habits that we've been discussing throughout all of Self-Love September. I wanted to save this video to the latter half of September because I mentioned it in the intro of my Self-Love September series, but this is something, a practice or a routine or a schedule that ties in all of the little contemplations, all of the little journal prompts, all of our activities and our small pivots that we've been making all month. Having a routine or a schedule or a calendar around those small pivots is a way to anchor it into the 3D and make it something that becomes a habit as opposed to a conscious decision. we can spend a lot of energy and time making conscious decisions. Decision and choice fatigue is a real thing. So when we can take these pivots, whether that is something as simple as stretching more often or committing to some sort of journaling practice, when we can take those pivots and create them as habits and get our bodies and our minds used to doing these things and in some sort of routine or ritual manner, we no longer have to waste our cognitive energy making the choice to do it. It becomes a habit. It becomes a part of the way we live as opposed to something we have to break our autopilot in order to choose to do. So I think I've portrayed my love of routines well enough. Let's get into some of the ways and some of the tips and dynamics that I've worked with over the years to allow me to have both a masculine framework, a structure, a calendar, some sort of linear accountability, as well as living in tune with the seasons, being free flow, being present in the moment, and more than anything, being able to intuitively adjust for what I'm needing in the moment. I want to empower you to be able to take these small pivots that we have consciously chosen to participate in for Self-Love September, distill out what ones work for you, and be able to schedule them in, make them a routine, and bring them out of the month of September and into the seasons to come. I'm a paper and pen person. I like the tangible activity of writing. There's something about just the texture of paper, the choice of pens, choosing colors. It's very magic to me. There's a lot of levels and layers of intentionality to having something on paper. If that doesn't float your boat, put it on your phone, put it on your computer, do whatever you gotta do. But I would highly recommend writing this down if you are someone who enjoys the creation process, the crafting process. Maybe even a little bit of artistic juju added into your schedules or your rituals or your calendars or some sort of record keeping. I would highly recommend checking out my Pagan Plan With Me series. It is an entire bullet journal, multiple seasons incorporating tarot, trackers, morning routines, rituals, and different kind of layouts and artistically crafted content for you to distill ideas and inspiration from. I love the series. I'll link it above here, and this is my reminder to get back into creating some sort of pagan plan with me. It was such a fun ride and I miss making those videos for you all. That's how much I love record keeping. It's like, man, I gotta start this whole series again just so I can share with people the excitement behind journaling, because it's a very niche hobby and there are the people on the internet who appreciate it and I appreciate them, so we can all revel in stationary joy together. General layout that we're going to get into would be choosing broad categories of things that then encompass specific tasks and contemplations. I will have my routine and I will have 5 categories and I will have 6 options in each category, and when I'm doing my routine I will choose one of the options that fall under a specific category, and my routine consists of one option that's in each category. I know that sounds complicated, but I will explain. I have divided up my care routine and my needs into my physical health, my emotional health, my spiritual health, and my mental health. So these are the broad categories, and every day, every morning or every evening, whatever time I see fit, I incorporate one task, one practice, one contemplation, or one exercise from each of these categories, because I want to be caring for myself in as holistic of a way as I can. So I need to take care of my mind, my emotions, my spirituality, as well as my physical body. These are the broad categories that I make sure I tick off each routine, each morning, each evening. I personally do my routine in the evening. If you're a morning person, if you're a midday person, do whatever works for you. Change it up, switch it up as needed. That's kind of the point of this entire video. So I have my broad categories of my physical health, my mental health, my emotional health, and my spiritual health. Under the category of physical health, I have stretching, exercise, diet, and general physical care. Stretching and exercise fall under movement for me, so I will choose, depending on the day what one I am incorporating in my morning, evening, or afternoon routine. Am I stretching? Am I going to be doing a yoga class? I have a lot of choice when it comes to my movement, but the goal is to incorporate movement into my routine. So my movement could be stretching or my movement could be exercise. Within the category of stretching, I've even broken it down more. I have the choice of doing a yoga practice, whether I'm following along on YouTube or I am doing my physiotherapy exercises, nerve flossing, and rebuilding certain muscle groups. All of that falls under the category of stretching, that falls under the category of physical health. So you can see this kind of tapered down specific flow chart that occurs. Every time I'm doing my evening routine, because I do mine in the evening, I will choose a physical health activity, and that is either stretching or exercising when it comes to my movement options. I also have diet and general care under this category. For me, these are more passive things to incorporate and foster in my life. So for my diet options, I have choosing nutrient-dense foods first. I also have things that I'm going to avoid, like seed oils. So those fall under the diet category of my physical health. Under my spiritual health category, I have things like energetic hygiene and divination or communication. This is how I like to divide up really broadly some of my spiritual practices. So every day, in some way, shape, or form, I need to do some energetic hygiene. In that category, I have options. I can choose to mapacho myself or work with aqua de flora to cleanse my body. Maybe I'm going to do a space cleansing. Maybe I'm just going to get really intentional, sit in the forest, and just make sure I'm in alignment with my own self. All of that falls under my spiritual health category. This also includes things under the category of divination, which means my pendulum or working with tarot, oracle cards, going out into the forest and listening to the dang wind, whatever I like. There's a lot of options, so that is the point. You are allotting a time period and a little ticky box on your to-do list for spiritual health. And whatever that spiritual health task is, whatever serves you that day, whatever feels right and is intuitively aligned for you, that's what you do. So there's structure and freedom of choice and intuition and guidance. An example for mental health, under the mental health category, I have things like screen time. For me, the screen time rules of engagement are intentional. I am consciously engaging with whatever content I am consuming. So no mindless scrolling on Instagram, but I will go on Instagram with an intention to look at a specific person, see specific content, maybe connect with a certain friend. It's just intentional. I love Instagram. I love talking to people on Instagram. I love the community, and I don't want to demonize it, but I want to be conscious of my engagement with it. That is all part of my mindfulness practice, being aware and conscious of my existence and engagement with the world around me. This also includes my inner world, so catching myself when I'm being critical or judgmental of myself, if I am shaming myself or using guilt as a motivator, all of my inner dialogue, this all falls under mental health and my mindfulness practice. So these are things I check back in throughout the day or during specific times like my evening ritual to make sure and reevaluate how I've been interfacing with myself and the world through my mental realm. The two categories I have that fall under emotional health would be expression and connection. For me, connection means fostering and pouring love and intention into close personal relationships with my friends and my family. Being intentional about connecting with humans. This also means showing up fully in my romantic partnerships and being very engaged and intentional about how I am as a partner. Treating my mom with love and respect. This is on my list of things I need to always make sure I am doing. These are little pivots and intentional shifts that I am making and deserve a spot on the list. They are something I want to be held accountable to. So they fall under the category of emotional health, and every day I will choose one or two to make sure I am fostering and intentionally interfacing with. Under expression and permission, this is where expressing my emotions come in. Spontaneous rage rituals art, journaling, poetry, using this emotional fuel to create something beautiful in the world, or using something beautiful in the world to express this emotion through. There is a beautiful relationship here through expression and permission, and it's a big part of my emotional health and something that I check in on every single day. This is the structure that I work with. This is how I provide myself with a routine, a regimen, a ritual, or some sort of accountability of the tasks, contemplations, practices that I want to incorporate in my life. This isn't a chore list of things that you have to do. These are practices and pivots that you're making in your life because you know they serve you, because they align you with the direction you want to move in. Routines are intended to serve you, not for you to become enslaved to the routine. Make the routine, the schedule, the rising ritual, or the evening ritual serve you and work for you. It's not the other way around. You're not supposed to shun and shame and critique yourself into completing a to-do list and your tasks. This is to hold you to account and call you forward to do and prioritize and integrate the practices that you know are of value for you and move you in the direction you want to be moving. I really hope that this structure, this balance between a routine and a schedule, and the options and choices and freedom you've given yourself within that routine serves you. If you want more conversation, like I said, more examples, some visual spreads, and deeper discussion, please check out the Pagan Plan with Me series. I give many different examples in many different ways about how this works for me. I would strongly encourage you to create some broad categories like physical health, mental health, emotional health, and dedicate yourself and commit to doing one of the things in each of those categories every day, whether that's in your morning routine, your rising ritual, or if you do it before bed, your evening ritual. Maybe you do different parts at different times of the day, keeping in mind that routines are here to serve you. And if it becomes a source of shame or critique or judgment towards yourself, change the routine. It is not set in stone, and there is no need to berate yourself for not committing to a routine that's not serving you. So I hope that this video has empowered you. I hope that my ideas and a few of my concepts might give you a springboard to go off in your own direction and create your own routine, to explore and revisit the idea and concept of structure and schedule in combination with intuition, freedom, living seasonally, and being able to really be in the moment. This practice has been huge in my life and has been probably one of the most consistent things that has served me, because I give myself permission to go back in, rewrite, and change it up. So with all of my love and my best wishes, I will see you all back here very shortly with another video. Bye-bye for now.